Daniel stumbled through the undergrowth. Each step was heavy, laden with despair. The forest pressed in around him, a suffocating blanket of shadows and whispers. Moonlight, fractured by the canopy, painted an eerie mosaic on the forest floor. He had wandered for hours, each one stretching into an eternity. His heart ached with a pain he couldn't name. A sense of utter hopelessness had seeped into his very being. The air grew colder as the night deepened. Daniel wrapped his arms around himself, a futile attempt to ward off the chill that had burrowed into his soul. He was lost, utterly and completely lost. "Lost, are you?" A voice slithered through the trees. It was a silken whisper laced with false concern. Daniel stopped, his heart pounding against his ribs. He couldn't place the voice, couldn't tell if it came from the shadows or from within his own mind. Fear, cold and sharp, shot through him. "Let me help you," the voice crooned, closer now, wrapping around him like the tendrils of a venomous vine. "Tell me your troubles, let me ease your pain." The darkness seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. Daniel's resolve crumbled. He was drowning in despair, gasping for air. Maybe, just maybe, this voice offered a lifeline. "Please," Daniel choked out, his voice a broken whisper. I don't know what to do anymore." Tears streamed down his face, hot against his cold skin. The voice chuckled, a low, rumbling sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of the forest. "Such delicious despair," it murmured, "such exquisite agony." Suddenly a memory flickered in the darkness of Daniel's mind, a memory of light, of warmth, of love, a single word, whispered like a prayer. "Michael," he breathed. The voice hissed, its tone changing from seductive to furious in an instant. "Don't be a fool," it snarled. "There's no one here to help you." But it was too late. The single ray of light multiplied, splitting into two brilliant beams that sliced through the oppressive darkness. The forest, shrouded in shadows moments before, was bathed in a radiant glow. Two figures descended, their forms wreathed in celestial light. They were impossibly bright, their presence banishing the darkness as effortlessly as the sun banished night. The first, tall and imposing, his eyes blazing with righteous anger, stepped forward. He held a sword of pure light, its edge humming with power. "Begone, creature of darkness," he commanded, his voice echoing with the power of 1,000 thunderstorms. "Your time here is at an end." The voice shrieked, a sound filled with fury and fear. The shadows writhed, coalescing into a grotesque parody of a man. Its eyes burned with malevolent hatred, its claws bared in a silent snarl. The battle was joined. Michael's sword met the creature's claws in a blinding flash of light. The clash reverberated through the forest, the very air crackling with energy. Daniel watched, his breath caught in his throat, as the two figures blurred in a whirlwind of motion. He clung to the name Michael, a beacon of hope in the maelstrom. He knew somehow that this was a battle for his very soul. Beside him, the second figure knelt. His presence radiated a calming warmth, a sense of profound peace. He turned to Daniel, his eyes filled with compassion. "Do not be afraid, child," he said, his voice a gentle melody. "We are here to help." Daniel looked into those eyes, and a wave of relief washed over him. He was safe. He was no longer alone. The figure reached out, his touch sending a jolt of warmth through Daniel's body. The fear that had gripped him loosened its hold. He felt a glimmer of hope, fragile yet real, ignite within him. With a final, ear-splitting shriek, the creature of darkness was vanquished. It dissolved into motes of shadow, scattering before the radiant light that emanated from Michael. The forest, moments ago a place of terror, was bathed in an otherworldly peace. Michael sheathed his sword, the light around him dimming slightly. He turned to Daniel, his expression stern, yet not unkind. "You are fortunate," he said, his voice still echoing with the power of the storm. "Your faith, though tested, did not waver." Daniel could only nod, his throat too tight for words. He looked from Michael to the figure beside him, a silent question forming on his lips. "I am Raphael," the figure said, answering the unspoken question. He smiled, and it was like the sun breaking through the clouds. "My brother and I heard your plea. We are here to guide you home." Daniel rose to his feet, his legs shaky but his spirit soaring. He looked around at the forest, now bathed in the soft light of dawn, and felt a sense of peace he had never known possible. The shadows had retreated, banished by the light of heaven. He was no longer lost, no longer alone. He had been found. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the canopy, painting the forest floor in hues of gold and rose, Daniel walked alongside his celestial guardians. The air was fresh, sweet with the scent of pine and damp earth. He looked up at the sky, now a vibrant tapestry of blue and orange, and felt a sense of awe fill him. The world seemed new, washed clean by the events of the night. He had walked into the forest a broken man, his spirit crushed by despair. He emerged from it reborn, his heart filled with a newfound hope. The path ahead was still uncertain, but Daniel knew he was no longer alone. He carried the memory of the celestial light, the warmth of Raphael's touch, and the echo of Michael's words within him. He had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, not through his own strength, but through the unwavering love and protection of a power far greater than himself. He stepped out of the forest and into the light, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The forest, once a symbol of his despair, now stood as a testament to his redemption. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, even in the depths of our despair, there is always God. For we are never truly alone. The love of God shines brighter than any darkness, a love that reaches deeper than any abyss. And sometimes all it takes is a whisper, a prayer to Yeshua to call upon God. The promise of dawn awaits us all.